Okay, so I thought today, continuing in the vein of what we've been doing recently, staying with the just sitting, simply being, pure awareness, whatever you want to call it, practice. So I think I mentioned this before about the idea of mentally constructed experience. But I'll say it again. So what do we mean by mentally constructed experience? Well, often when we come to our direct experience, well, actually often it's difficult to come to our direct experience because there's some sort of mental fabrication about our experience that's going on. So I think the other week we had a little look at time in regards to that, that we think about being present now with whatever's going on, and we either sort of projecting into the future or projecting into the past. And looking a bit at time, we see that actually we're kind of manufacturing this idea of time, because right in this moment, there's just this and what's happening, which is what is the way that we're trying to look in this just sitting practice. Another way of talking about it is receptivity. So I think I said last week, in the system of meditation that we teach here at Triratna, the just sitting, simply being practice corresponds to this receptivity, which is like a kind of aspect or dimension of practice. And of course, what we're trying to be receptive to, well, I say of course, what we're trying to be receptive to is what's here now. And sometimes, just that investigation of time, for instance, can help sort of collapse things down into this moment, this experience here now. Another way that we mentally construct our experience is when we come to look at the body. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. I think when I first started meditating, I did the mindfulness of breathing meditation practice at least half with my head. So actually what I was kind of following was a kind of mental idea of the breath. It took me quite a long time to realize that that's what I was doing, and somebody else to point it out to me. And then I was able to come to my experience of the breath once I'd sort of seen that and seen past it in a much more direct way. But our whole bodily experience, and in a way, focusing on the breath and the mindfulness of breathing is just that. It's just focusing on the bodily experience. And the body in direct experience, well, how does it actually appear? So, I'm sure we've done this before in this class, and I've certainly done it in other places, but we could do today just have a little bit more of a look at that. Yeah. So I thought we could start, maybe just do an exercise or two to emphasize that, and then we'll have a period of just sitting after that. Are we recording? Yeah, that's great. Didn't hear that. We're now recording. No, don't worry. No, if we don't record it, nobody's going to die. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's just set up for an exercise, which really means just sitting here with our eyes closed. And having a look. So with the eyes closed, just go to the hands. We can take our awareness to our hands. So there's a mental image we can have of the hands, which is probably floating around. And there's thoughts about the hands. Can we take the mental images and the thoughts and put them to one side? Just go back to the raw sensation in that place where we know the hands to be. So without the mental image or the thoughts about the hands, what is actually appearing in your experience? So you can imagine a newborn baby might be experiencing. So it has no image of its own body. It has no thought constructions around the idea of hands. It's just a pure experiencing of raw sensation. See if you can get as close as possible to what is actually seen or felt. When I say seen, I mean in the sense of being aware of. What is actually there in that place we're calling the hands. And then without the thought or the image, you can even say that what we're experiencing is hands. Mind wants to come in and tell us, oh, that's hands. Without that, do we actually have any knowledge of hands? There's clearly something there. What is that something? How does it appear? So maybe able to, at this point, be in touch with the raw sensation. So asking ourselves, does it have any age to it? This sensation, is it 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old? This sensation, does it have any gender to it? Any nationality to it? Does it even have a definite shape to it? Is it more like a collection of sensations? Without any definite shape? Without really anything you can say about them? Okay, ding. Just come out of that exercise. So, what do we notice?
I struggle with the idea that it's possible to experience the raw sensation of the hand without the mental image, the concept of hand.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because, why is that possible? Because when you said at the very beginning, you want to focus your attention on the hand, yeah, you've got to have a concept of the hand to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And for me, what that meant was feeling my fingers, my left hand touching my fingers, my right hand, and I had a kind of abstract image in my head of what that might look like.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, I'm skeptical that it's possible to finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, when somebody says, be aware of your hands, got to get some way to get to that part of the body, haven't we? So, usually what we do is we have some thoughts and images, sort of, we're referencing. So if you said to the newborn baby, go to the hands, it doesn't have that concept, does it? But we've got this built up concept. We know these things are called hands. And they're located here. So we've got some mental referencing that gets us there. And I suppose what I'm trying to point to is, okay, so let's do that. We get there. And then after we get there, can we let go of that, having got there, and see what's actually just there in terms of sensation. In a way. And then you can look back from that and sort of realize, well, I mean, it's an open question, but something to find out. As you know, all these sort of inquiry exercises are designed, you know, not for me to tell you how it is, but for you to explore your experience. You know, you can be that, but you can look back from that and see that what actually my conception of the hands and the experience of the hands are two different things. Or can seem like that. What's the point in doing that? Might be thinking. Well, I think the whole point of it relates back to meditation as an exercise. Is how do you come to an experience that is direct? For instance, you know, if you want to do the mindfulness of breathing, to be able to come directly to the experience of the breath, not mentally mediated, going back to, you know, as I was saying about my own experience of meditation. Doing something like this can help to free that up. My experience of doing that is you can then just get very, very much closer to that direct experience as it's happening. Yeah. And also my experience of that is there's a liberation in the doing. Thanks, Steve.
Once I went to the hands, and I just looked at what felt sense I felt, and felt just like energy.
Yeah.
And then the first thing that came in was the shape of the hands, and then I tried to get rid of that concept.
Yeah.
Just feel where the energy was.
Yeah.
And my hands, or the sensation, my hands felt a lot bigger, and there was no no edge, or my fingers felt a lot fatter than they were. The energy of the feeling felt a lot bigger than what my concept of the hands were.
Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, another thing that happened to me when I first started meditating was that I'd meditate and my hands would just be like huge. I think, what the hell is going on? I think what it was was just that, the loosening of the mental construct. And suddenly, like, there's all this awareness and all this sensation, and it's not confined by the hands are supposed to be this size, you know. Yeah. So the freeing up of the mind that's going on in that process. Yeah. Often those sorts of things are referred to as what's called samapatis, which is basically anything strange that can happen in meditation. But often, you know, a good indicator that something is loosening up. Anyone else?
I was really aware of my mind wanting to formulate my hand. So I came to the hand, and it was like it was on the edge. I kind of experienced it like one of those optical illusions, you know, where you see one thing and you see another. So going from the experience of it to the concept of it. Yeah. And that was really interesting because it does loosen something up. You know, my hand isn't as I think it is.
Yeah.
But actually, my hand is full of pulses and you know, tingling, and you know, at this point I couldn't really see or conceptualize the edges. Yeah. And there was this thing like movement, and in the middle of it, I thought this is really good fun. And I thought, if my mind thinks my hand is here, right, in the air, what happens? Yeah. And that was really.
What did happen?
Well, it kind of moved. The energy, my awareness went there, and then it was kind of similar experience that I did have in my hand. But I think mostly it made me want to giggle because it felt like, you know, a loosening up of that, the hard edge or the concept of things I feel. Yeah. Or things I think they are.
Yeah.
being two different experiences.
Yeah.
But it was the interesting bit was kind of going from one to the other, just seeing that edge. What
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, great. That's lovely. And really good looking, I think, to look at that. And we are just, we are questioning our experience, aren't we? Which we don't, do a lot of the time, I suppose. So, well, what is actually going on in that experience? At one point when you were talking, Trisha, it made me think that, well, there is a mental idea, there's a mental idea of the hand, thought, and image, etc. So knowing that that's a mental idea of the hands, and that's what that is, and this is sensate experience. I think that also helps to sort of loosen this dominance of the thinking mind over our experience. We know I am now thinking an image of the hand. Thanks. Neil,
I really like these questions. Like sensations, do they have any age?
Yeah.
Any gender?
Yeah.
I thought, no. I could be 2 years old right now and feeling this.
Yeah.
I wasn't experiencing any arthritis at the time. Maybe that's why there's no age.
Well, even if you were experiencing arthritis, I mean, there's probably some babies that experience arthritis. I don't know, afflicted with some awful condition, but they wouldn't go, oh shit, arthritis, and off. They would just be experience a sensation. I did wonder about next week, maybe having a look at pain and discomfort in a similar kind of way might be helpful. Anyway, gender, age, nationality. Well, should we do one more exercise, slightly different, and get the point home a bit more, or not? Okay, we won't use the hands. Well, might end up using the hands, but going to the body again. So go to somewhere in the body that seems to be the experience of weight. So it might be on the sitting bones, wherever we seem to experience weight in the body. As much as we can, just going into that area of the body where there's weight, experience of weight. So does that experience of weight actually show itself as weight? Or is the experience And calling weight just more sensations. So again, not asking the mind this question, but asking it of direct experience, of what we can be aware of in the body. Is there such a thing as weight? Or it's what we've been calling weight. Sensations in the body. We can also ask ourselves, how much does that sensation, those sensations in that part of the body, how much do they weigh? So asking that question not of the mind, but of direct experience. We'll go a bit further, so to whatever it is in our experience that seems to be supporting what we're calling weight. So the chair or cushions or whatever we're sitting on. And noticing how quickly the mind constructs some image or some idea about what it is we're sitting on. Oh, it's a chair, it's a stool, it's some cushions. Looking in direct experience, do we have any experience of a thing called chair or cushion? Or is at this moment the idea of chair or cushion just more sensations? And looking around the edge of what we are thinking of as being the body and what we are thinking of as being the chair. Looking at the sensations in that place where there's what we're calling contact between the body and the chair or cushions. And can we actually discern any difference, except as an idea, between what we're calling chair, what we're calling body, or what we're calling cushions or floor, and what we're calling body? So again, it's not going to thought for an answer, but going to direct experience in the body, in awareness, for any answer to that. Okay, ding. Bell seems to have wandered. Okay, so just a chance to, again, to feedback about that.
I think I'd like to be honest and say,
Sorry? I lost
I'm
you.
actually feeling angry, and I'm really thinking that that's a projection as well. That's my direct experience. I think those kind of discussions just lose me. There's a bit of,
Yeah.
you mean sitting on it, and I appreciate
Right.
that, and possibly I'm feeling frustrated because
Yeah.
there could be another time when I could get into it, and it
Yeah.
may be a reflection
Okay.
of what's
Yeah.
happening with me now.
Yeah.
That just feels, stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And I know I'm feeling better saying that to you.
Good. Well, good. Yeah.
And also that I really don't mean it as an attack. I think the way I would be to go out of here and then explode to somebody.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was my experience. So it just,
Yeah.
it just kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. I'm glad that you felt you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes for everyone else. You know, if you go, I don't get it, then that is fine to not be getting it. And I think that I'm talking nonsense is also fine. Yeah, I mean, having said that, I mean, these exercises can be challenging. You know, when I first started doing them, I think I found them challenging. Well, what I would say from my own experience of that is that my head didn't like it because it was like, oh, you're looking somehow beyond that. And that can, I think, be threatening to its, this might not relate to you at all, Nancy, but I'm just saying that that can be the case. Yeah.
I noticed that this kind of striving to answer the question meant that I kind of came up into my head more.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's
almost made it more of a heady experience than
yeah.
just sitting might normally be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I think, you know, the head wants to answer these things, and you know, it's a kind of reflection of what tends to go on in our meditation generally. You know, sort of shoot back up into the head with things, but you know, it's just something that we work with over time, I think. Yeah. So what happened? So the head, did the head answer? Or did it say?
Well, there's a kind of feeling into, yeah, and then that head is, so you were asking about the weight.
Yeah.
So the head is going, well, I wouldn't call it weight, I'd call it contact.
Right. Okay.
And then it's kind of like, well, let's go back down and feel what that's like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. But I noticed, yeah, I kind of almost kept coming back up into the head in a way of trying to answer the question. So towards the end, I sort of slightly let go of the questions and just experienced more of the sensation.
Quite interesting. The answer to the question, contact, sounded to me like a kind of reframe of the question. So it's a bit like, well, I can't get hold of that idea of weight. Tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth. All I can get hold of is this idea of this sense of contact. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I think you asked a question about weight.
Yeah.
What is this thing called weight? Did you say something like that?
Not directly, but I suppose, yeah, sort of, yeah.
How much does it weigh? Is that another question?
Yeah, well, yes, more or less, yes.
I think I experienced it less as a kind of weighing down and more as a kind of meeting.
Right, yeah. Well, it sounds like you're already sort of doing the point of the exercise in a way, which was to come to that experience without, you know, what we call the concept of weight. You know, is there a concept of weight in our direct experience? Is one of those things that, you know, looking at experience beyond mental construction. So I was throwing a, you know, curveball, I think the Americans call it, don't they? You know, sort of to try and trick the weight. But it sounds like, you know, you already, to me, it sounds like you're already beyond that. Yeah. Or whatever, yeah. How does it actually appear in direct experience?
Yeah, for me personally, it's a kind of more intense sensation.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Right. That's what I would say was my experience as well.
Playing around a little bit with very minutely shifting the weight of the body and seeing how that altered the sensation.
Yeah. What happened with that?
It felt like there was less kind of heaviness in that part of the body. General kind of lightness in the body as a whole.
Interesting, yeah.
I really love the exercise.
Yeah, good.
Because normally I'm not led in I was in my meditation, so I do just sitting practice. And so I'm quite familiar with the edgeless, kind of expansive, energetic kind of experience. What's really interesting and felt really playful was when the concept, noticing the concepts coming in and have that change, because at the beginning, it's like I was thinking about this bit that's sitting my buttocks and my hips and felt like, oh yeah, that's really solid. That's solid. And then it started changing with my breath, you know, just noticing that it changes when the in-breath and the out-breath. And then I just quite enjoyed the play between the concept and the actual experience of it, and how the ideas that come in change the experience of vice versa.
Yeah.
And again, it made me want to giggle, because I think it's challenging some kind of concept or something like that, what this is. Yeah, so I quite enjoyed that. And the fact that it's, just this idea of weight. I really like that. I like the, the kind of, what weight, because actually when I breathed in, it felt like the weight went up.
Okay.
And I breathed out, the weight goes down. And then the whole experience of this area is so fluid and changing. And I just enjoyed it. Felt very playful. Yeah, it's nice. Again, kind of loosening up the meditation experience for me, because that kind of, it doesn't, even getting into absorbed states becomes can become a bit routine.
Yeah.
I can get into an absorbed state quite quickly. And but this idea of playing with it and checking what's happening, I like it.
Okay. Thanks. Shall we? Let's just have a sit then till the end. Oh.
Diane is saying it's nice to be led by Naravira, but it's difficult to hear other people's comments.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. We're investigating the idea of trying to have more microphones, and whether that might help things. So we may get to that point where we can have more than have a microphone over. Oh, with you guys, they are sitting quite far away. Okay, let's just sit then for the unled to the end of the practice. Sorry, I won't be able to ring the bell because there isn't one. So drawing meditation to a close. In your own time.